Hey everyone, it's Andrew from the Coaster101 podcast, and I've got a question for you. Do you love Coaster101.com and or the Coaster101 podcast so much that you would literally wear your heart on your sleeve for us? We've got an answer for you. Be sure to check out our TeePublic shop at c101.co/tpublic for the latest and greatest in Coaster101 designs, as well as designs inspired by theme park attractions around the United States. Again, that's c101.co/tpublic. Now, enjoy this week's episode. You're listening to another episode of the Coaster101 podcast. I'm Andrew Stillwell, and joining me on the podcast this week, fresh off his family vacation to Universal Orlando Resort, is Nick Weisenberger up in Ohio. Nick, how are you?
Well, I'm sitting here in cold, dark Ohio, wishing I was back in sunny and warm Florida.
Well, I guess that'll do it. But
post-trip depression.
You need a vacation from your vacation, or a vacation to go back on vacation, something like that.
Yes, because when you go on a trip with kids, it's not a vacation; it's a trip.
Completely. I'm not going to say I understand, because again, a childless millennial that I am. No kids on me, but obviously past listeners of the podcast will remember our Legoland New York episode where the headphones were flying. They were hitting Nick in the face. But we got some good conversation out of Nick's two kids, Henry and Nora. I don't think they're going to be joining us on the podcast this week, but we are going to talk kind of about the merits of a family vacation at Universal Orlando. Obviously, we're going to talk VelociCoaster because it's 2022 and we're a roller coaster podcast, so we have to do that. But Nick, I'm going to start. Obviously, I know the last couple of years you've done a big family trip to Walt Disney World down in Florida, and there's a great video on our YouTube channel that I'll probably link in the show notes that you put together of you and your wife surprising your kids with a trip to Disney World last year about this time. And again, I think that was your second Disney trip, right?
Yeah, that was 2 years ago, just before the pandemic began.
Gotcha. Well, what was it this time about, why Universal Orlando as opposed to Walt Disney World?
Well, like you said, we just went 2 years ago. So one of the things is new attractions. I think really the only two major new rides at Disney are Ratatouille and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. And we had done that before. And I think I mentioned on one of the earlier episodes of the podcast is I'm not been a fan of some of the choices that have been made going on at Disney right now, such as like what we talked about last time I was on the show is the elimination of the Magical Express. So I think the cost of a Disney vacation has gone up, and some of the perks have either gone away or now cost money.
Gotcha.
So that was one reason, but the other reason is more because my wife and I hadn't been to Universal in 10 years, and there's tons of new stuff. I mean, the Studios Park is almost a brand new park essentially, with the amount of new things that they've added, and our kids have never been there. And during the pandemic, one of the things we did is we started reading the Harry Potter books with my son. We have the illustrated editions. And so he's become a big Harry Potter fan. So we really wanted to surprise him with a trip to Harry Potter World, as he calls it.
Yes, as many people call it. And, again, you mentioned you and Sarah, your wife, you have not been to Universal in 10 years. And there's been so much that has gone on at Universal in that past decade. I mean, you've got Transformers, you've got Jimmy Fallon, you've got Fast and the Furious, you've got all the Harry Potter stuff, I believe, is in the last 10 years. Yeah. So
the last major addition when we were there was Forbidden Journey.
Okay.
So at Islands of Adventure, they had just added the Wizarding World there.
Gotcha. Okay, man. I'm getting old in this hobby. Yikes. It's all good. But, Henry, your son, he's 8 years old. He's 48 inches tall. And Nora, she's 4. She's just over 42 inches. So on a family vacation as a dad, you're, I don't want to say obligated, but you're going to be doing kind of what the kids wanted to do.
Yep. And that was my mindset going into this trip too, was like this, the main purpose is a family vacation. So they're that kind of the priority. Unfortunately not. I still wanted to ride, of course, VelociCoaster and stuff, but the main priority was them. And so going into it, I kind of made two lists of, all right, here's all the stuff that I want our family to do. And then here's the second list of attractions where if we don't get to do that, I'm not going to be super disappointed.
Okay. What were some of the attractions on that list you wanted to do as a family?
So for me personally, I guess the top 5 things that I wanted to do that if I didn't get to ride them, I would be disappointed was VelociCoaster, which was for me, of course, being the coaster enthusiast. Well, then Hagrid's motorbike coaster. So Henry's tall enough to ride that. And then Gringotts, everyone was tall enough to ride that. The Hogwarts Express, just to see the kids' reactions. And then the other one for me was the Bourne Stuntacular. Those were like my top 5 must-dos. But then like for family-wise, pretty much just everything. Like even all the playground areas were on my list to at least scope out. Yeah.
And it's funny you mentioned the coaster enthusiast thing, and 3 of the top 5 things on your list are roller coasters. So, yeah. All right, let's get into it. We're gonna focus on family on this episode, but we need your thoughts on VelociCoaster. How was it?
It is everything that everyone has said and more. It lives up to the hype.
That's good.
I mean, it's the complete package. It's everything you want in a roller coaster. I mean, just the theming, the way it looks, the way it fits in the area. The queue line's awesome. You got the raptors, the animatronic raptors in the queue. The trains are super comfortable and wide open, just a lap bar only restraint. And then, yeah, the ride is crazy. The first half is, there's not so much airtime in the first half. It's more about twists and turns and lots of near miss moments. But then you hit that second launch, and that's where it really goes from like an 8 or 9 to like an 11 or a 12, because every single element after that second launch is incredible. Like just crazy airtime. Of course, everybody talks about the roll inversion over the water, which when you're just looking at the track, I don't know how they do it, but you get insane like hanging airtime as you're going over the water. It's probably the standout moment. And yeah, it's just awesome. Unfortunately, I only got to ride it once, and it was in the middle seat. I know I've heard people say crazy things about the back seat and the front seat, but so I really wish I'd gotten to ride it in more places, but I'm just thankful I got on at least once.
Again, family vacation, you got to put the kids first.
Yeah, that was the one thing I wish I could change, because the very first day, the very first thing we did was go to Forbidden Journey, when really we should have went to VelociCoaster first. Because I didn't realize it, but it would have been much easier for us to get on Forbidden Journey like any other time than it was to get on VelociCoaster. But my plan going in was to do the family stuff first, like because we stayed in Cabana Bay, so one of the perks of that is you get an hour of early entry at Islands of Adventure. At least that was the only park that it was early entry was available when we were there. So my plan was first day do the family stuff, second day Friday morning do VelociCoaster first thing. Well, we get there and it was delayed throughout the entire early morning, but people were still lining up to wait for it. So by the time it did open, it had a huge line. So we just gave up trying to ride it that day, and then came back Saturday morning and finally got to ride it.
Third time's the charm.
And then the fourth day, we didn't even try to get up early because we had done it 3 days in a row. So we just slept in on Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, you did mention you stayed at Cabana Bay. What were your thoughts on Cabana Bay? That's a place I've never stayed. Typically when I'm at Universal, and I have not stayed on Universal property in a long time. I think even last time I stayed at Universal was pre-Cabana Bay. But what were your thoughts on Cabana Bay as kind of that mid-tier value-ish property?
Yeah, ever since they've built Cabana Bay, I've wanted to stay there. I knew like when we went back to Universal eventually, we were going to stay there. So when we went 10 years ago, just the wife and I, we stayed at Royal Pacific, which was really nice. But we usually walked from Royal Pacific to City Walk into the parks. But that was, I mean, even for adults, that's a pretty long walk. So I knew we weren't going to do that again. But yeah, Cabana Bay definitely lived up to my expectations. Like for the kind of value resort it is, the pool areas are really nice. There's 2 pools, a lazy river, a slide, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a bowling alley. We didn't use it, but it was a nice perk that other hotels don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And just the proximity to everything. So yeah, I mean, my go-to resort at Disney's probably Pop Century, because I like that location, especially being on the Skyliner now.
Right.
But Cabana Bay, I feel like, is much better, especially the rooms. The rooms are much bigger than the Pop Century rooms. I mean, not that you're probably going to spend much time in your hotel room when you're on a theme park vacation, but it was the rooms were a lot bigger, and they have like actually a dividing separator that you can like divide the living room from the bedroom, which is nice when you've been with your kids for 3 straight days and you want a little break.
You sound like you're almost like tearing up when you say that. It's kind of funny. And I know one thing you put on Twitter that the bus system at Universal Orlando was incredibly efficient. Like, what made it so much better than, a bus system at a park chain resort that's slightly south on I-4?
I don't want to say like it's better than Disney, because it's not really a fair comparison, because Disney's so much bigger, but it's way better than Disney, because like we didn't have to wait more than 5 minutes for a bus. Like every time we went to the bus, I was like, boom, there's a bus there. You get on, and then a lot of times they weren't even like waiting for the buses to be completely full. They were just like, oh, there's 10 people on the bus, send it.
No.
So it was very, very fast and efficient. So you never felt like you were waiting around or wasting time.
Good.
So it was yeah, I love that.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk parks. Obviously, again, you're there on a family vacation. You're there over the President's Day weekend. Mardi Gras is going on, and we're going to get into the Mardi Gras parade and the concert you saw and things like that. It's an interesting time right now if you're going to visit Universal kind of in this, what I'm going to call the off season of 2022. There's a lot of attractions that are either currently under refurbishment or have closed recently. RIP, pour one out for Shrek 4D. There was no Shrek. Mummy, Revenge of the Mummy was closed for refurbishment. Over at Islands of Adventure, Poseidon's Fury was being refurbished. Carousel, Dudley Do-Right, Ripsaw Falls. I mean, there was a lot kind of being improved upon for your next visit, which I would say limited your attractions a little bit, but looking at this kind of rundown that you've provided, you guys got a lot done every day, which I think was pretty impressive.
Yeah. Crowd-wise, I don't think Thursday and Friday was too bad, but Saturday and especially Sunday, it was packed. So Sunday was definitely our worst day, combined with us being tired after being in the parks for 4 days. Yeah. So some of the rides being down wasn't really an issue until Saturday and Sunday. That's when the reduced capacity really hurt, especially too, since besides the closed rides that you mentioned, a couple of them had reduced capacity as well. Like the Flight of the Hippogriff, I heard from one of the team members, one of the trains was supposed to be back from refurbishment, but it wasn't yet. So that was running at 50% capacity. And then because of the refurbishment to the Carousel, the High in the Sky trolley train ride was also at reduced capacity, because one of the tracks goes like around the carousel, so that track had to be closed. So that line was super long.
Gotcha.
As well.
We're not going to get into this debate, but Coaster Count lists High in the Sky Seuss trolley ride as a potential coaster credit. Do you think it is? Is it a powered coaster?
Well, technically, it is a Mack Rides powered coaster. So that's the type of model it is. But I mean, there is one part where it seems like it has a slight downhill ascent, and you start speeding up, maybe due to gravity. So I don't know.
All right, perfect. Well, let's talk some of the the better attractions to visit Universal Orlando with a family. Obviously, you've got the classic E.T. You've got another great dark ride like Men in Black Alien Attack. The Animal Actors Show is something else you guys did, but what were some of the standouts for your family?
was surprising to me, the number one ride, which I was not expecting that no one seemed to universally love, was the Men in Black Alien Attack Shooting Dark ride, which you guys have talked about on the podcast with Dave Cobb before.
Yes.
So I was not expecting that, but yeah, that was the one ride that we could all do, and everybody loved it. So that was surprising to me.
Did you mean to say it was universally loved? Did you do that on purpose?
Sure. Yeah, of course. Of course, the kids they liked all the play areas, like the Curious George play area, where it's just like a giant cage filled with balls and like compressed air guns where you can shoot balls at each other. So they really liked that area. I think the kids enjoyed the Skull Island Reign of Kong ride. That was a hit. And of course, all the rides and Seuss Landing, Cat in the Hat, the trolley train ride. Oh, I think my son's favorite ride was actually, no, it wasn't Haggard's Coaster, even though he got to ride that a couple times. It was the Pterodon Flyers in Camp Jurassic.
Nice.
Which has probably the worst capacity of any ride in the entire resort.
But hey, did you get the credit?
Yes, we did.
There you go. That's add it to the count. Let's go. That's awesome. You mentioned that Curious George Ball Factory area, and I read about that in one of those old like Universal Orlando guides. And I had no kids. I don't really find myself in Fievel's Playland or Curious George Goes to Town, or the Barney attraction's not there anymore. I think it's still that DreamWorks.
Something.
DreamWorks meet and greet. But the Ball Factory was just a ton of fun. I think, especially it's a good way to let kids kind of blow off some steam, I feel like.
I mean, even for adults, shooting balls at your kids. But yeah, I had never even, I think, gone past the ET attraction before, so I didn't even know like what was all the way back there. And there was a big water play area as well. So and shaded playgrounds. It's really nice if you got family and you need a break kind of from the crowds, head back there.
There you go. Even better. Okay. Henry is getting into the Harry Potter. What was his, I see you spent some time with the interactive wands. You did the Ollivanders show. You did all, everything Harry Potter you managed to do. Let's talk about the favorites there. What was the standout in the two Wizarding World of Harry Potter lands / Harry Potter world, according to your son?
I think the interactive wands he really liked. Well, at first, I think our first wand, it was either broke or he was tapped it against the wall too many times and broke it. So I don't think it was working at first. But one thing, I don't know if everyone knows this, but you can go back to the wand shop and say, hey, I don't think my wand's working, and they'll repair it for you, aka just give you a new one. And so I think they just swapped them out wands, and then it worked. So it was a lot of fun after that. Yeah, like you said, we pretty much did everything. Forbidden Journey was the first ride we went on. He wasn't a fan of that. I think it was a little too intense for him. And myself, I forgot how intense that ride is. Like
it's
how in your face everything is. I mean, a lot of other dark rides, the sets are kind of far back, but I think of any ride, that's the one where like things feel really, really close to you.
Gotcha. And what'd you think of Gringotts?
I really liked it. So I had actually watched, the videos on YouTube a while ago because I didn't know the next time I was going to ride it. So I knew the story going in. So when we were riding it, I was, being the engineering nerd and like looking all over the place to try to see like the mechanics of how the motion-based tracks work and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I really like the ride. It's definitely much more fun in person than watching the YouTube video.
The low light 4K POV community, they'd prefer you to watch the video, but yeah, ride the ride. It's so much better in person.
Yeah, the videos just don't do it justice.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit. I'm looking at your list here. It says Nora, your daughter, broke the Jimmy Fallon ride. I need to hear this story.
This is actually the second time something's happened with her. So I guess first I'll just tell the first story. When we were at Disney Hollywood Studios 2 years ago, we were riding the Alien Swirling Saucers ride, like the spinny ride. And just as the ride's about to start, she stands up, or actually just after the ride started, she stands up. So they had to hit the e-stop. They made everybody get off the ride because they thought maybe like her seatbelt had broken or something, but it was just a little too loose. So they had kicked everybody off the ride. They had to cycle it empty. but then they let everyone back on and we rode it. So the first time we had an incident with Nora was then. So this time, our first day, we're at Universal Studios. We go on the Jimmy Fallon ride. She's tall enough, of course. It's 42 inches. I mean, as a parent, I'm never going to put my kid like on a ride where I know exactly how tall my kids are. I'm not going to try to sneak them on a ride, right, that they're not tall enough for, or that I don't think they can handle. She's plenty tall enough. We get on the ride. They check the seatbelts and everything. Everything's good. They start it, and like just at a couple seconds after the video starts playing, before the seats really move, the whole ride shuts down, and we kind of sit there for a couple minutes in silence. And then, since it's a flying feeder type ride, there's like the catwalks on either side like go up and down, like they go down when the ride's moving and back up. So they came like up and down a couple times, and finally they came up, and the staff members came back and they talked to everyone like, hey, everyone still want to ride? Like, everyone's okay? And like, everyone's like, yeah, let's ride again. Like, we all want to ride. And then they singled out my daughter. Like, they come up to us and they're like, the sensors are really sensitive. So make sure she's sitting exactly like in the center of the seat. Make sure her legs are straight. Like, because sometimes kids will like try to sit like Indian style or like pull their legs up or something. Like, make sure she's sitting perfectly still in the middle, because the sensors are pretty sensitive. So then I ended up like putting my hand on her knees to try to hold her.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure she doesn't move. But they started the ride again, and we made it through the whole thing without a problem. And then the surprise. So at that point, she was kind of the villain, because everyone was mad that the ride stopped and we were wasting time. But then at the end, everybody got express passes to use because of that. So then she ended up being the hero.
I love this. Is Nora's villain origin story. It's great. Fantastic. I want to ask you, and I know you didn't get to do Spider-Man or Transformers, which are a couple of my favorites. I'm not going to hold that against you. It's fine. But you got to ride some attractions that I've yet to experience, which Jimmy Fallon is one of those, and Fast and the Furious Supercharged, which to me, having not experienced it, not watched a lot of YouTube, not read a lot about it, trying to remain as spoiler-free as possible, I think it gets a bad rap in the theme park community. Do you think that criticism is warranted?
I think if you took like Jimmy Fallon and Fast and the Furious just by themselves, they're fine. They're fine rides. They're okay. I think the biggest problem is just the whole park in general, is that there's too many rides that rely on motion bases in front of a screen. So there's too many repetitive style rides. So I think that's the part where like you get to Fast and Furious, it's like, oh, one of these again, we're going to be in front of a screen on a motion simulator moving us around. So that was because like Skull Island Reign of Kong, I think fits a lot better inside of Islands of Adventure than Fast and the Furious fits inside of Universal Studios, because there's less motion-based rides in Islands of Adventure. Like there's a lot more variety of ride types in Islands of Adventure than there is at the Studios park. So that ride just works better there. So I think if there was more variety at the Studios park, I don't think it would be as hated as it is.
Okay, that's fair. I will always just kind of remain a disaster stan.
I like that. I like that.
Frank Kincaid, Christopher Walken. You can't have a theme park ride with Christopher Walken and have it be bad. So I do miss Disaster. I'm excited to experience Fast and the Furious when I go down to Universal Orlando later this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm not going to be there during Mardi Gras while you were there. Let's talk this Mardi Gras parade. How was the parade? How was the concerts? Tell me all about it.
We ended up seeing the parade 3 times. So that should tell you all you need to know about how much the kids loved it. So they had, I'm not sure how many floats there are. There's probably maybe 20 floats. It's a pretty lengthy parade, and they actually allow guests to ride on the parade and throw beads out, throw necklaces to the people watching the parade. And so that's like the thing that the kids loved was trying to catch as many necklaces as they could. And I think we ended up getting over like 100 through 3 parades worth. We'll have to share the picture in the notes of my son. At one time we took all the necklaces and put them on him, and it covers up half his face. Like
did all those necklaces come back to Ohio with you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, they did. I really wanted to just like walk around City Walk, having our own parade, and just like throwing them out to people, but we ended up putting them in our suitcase and bringing them back. And we were joking, like, what are we going to do with these? Like, hand them out at Halloween instead of candy for trick or treat?
Oh, don't be that house.
I think the kids are going to take them to their schools and give them to their classmates or something.
I guess that's a nice charitable gesture. I appreciate it. I've seen this picture. We will link this in the article about this podcast. So if you're listening, head to coaster101.com.
And there'll be videos for all this on our YouTube channel eventually as well.
Even better. Perfect. And you also have done something I almost had the opportunity to do, but then had last minute change of plans. You saw Bare Naked Ladies live in concert. And then the band was there too.
Lucky accident. Yeah. I like that joke.
So how were they?
Oh, they were good. At least like the 6 or 7 songs that we saw before the kids were too tired and we had to go back. But yeah, it was just a happy accident that they were the band that was there. So I think every Saturday and Sunday throughout this event, they have free concerts in the big concert venue that's right in front of the Rip Ride rocket coaster. So that's just like a really cool venue to have, like the coaster with the lights on the cars going by as the band's playing. That's a lot of fun. And I'm still waiting to hear from Henry's teachers when they're like, "What do you do on vacation?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw Bare Naked Ladies."
Oh man.
Like, I'm fearing for that moment to happen.
It's going to happen. You're just going to have to roll with it. But I feel like people know Bare Naked Ladies. I mean, it's been a long time. It's been many weeks since 1 week came out. So, and that song came on the radio the other day or on my iPod or something, and I was singing along. Like, I remembered every word. It was great.
Classic.
It was great. I want to talk a little bit about the food situation. And you had a first time experience with butterbeer. How did you take your butterbeer?
The first one I got was the frozen variety.
So
it's like
the best kind.
The drink frozen one.
Yeah, the best kind, the only kind. I don't recognize cold butterbeer. I don't recognize hot butterbeer, frozen butterbeer, or don't talk to me.
That's the way to go. Yeah. I don't like hot drinks either, so I didn't try the warm butterbeer, but frozen was very good.
Okay.
And then later on, we had the butterbeer ice cream as well, which the kids didn't really like the frozen butterbeer, but everybody loved the butterbeer ice cream.
Your kids will learn one day. It'll happen.
Their taste will evolve.
Were there any other food standouts during your trip?
For the kids, they really liked the green eggs and ham that was at in Seuss Landing, the green eggs and ham place. And then, so I thought that was all right. But then the next day we went back there and we got the buffalo chicken from the green eggs and ham stand. And that was really good. Mm-hmm. I know for the Mardi Gras festival, they have lots of food and beverage items, which I only tried once. So my experience was not great because first, the food service is one area where they could improve because I waited in line for about 25 minutes. And this was before the parade would start, and I was on the opposite side of the street where the rest of my family was. So I'm just like sweating it out. Like, I hope I can get through this line before the parade starts, or I'm going to be trapped on the other side of the street as my family. So finally, I get my food item, and I got a specialty drink. It was like a spiked orange creamsicle beverage.
Sounds tasty.
So it sounded delicious. It was like $14 or $15, and I probably got to drink about $3 of it before it got accidentally knocked over by my kids. So my food experience was not as good as it could have been.
It seems like it was your kids' issue more so.
Yeah. Well, the waiting in line for 25 minutes was their issue, but then, getting knocked over was their kids' issue.
True. All right. I want to let's pick your brain here. As a dad, what's your biggest piece of advice for taking a family vacation to Universal Orlando?
I guess the first thing I would start with is I would not recommend it if your kids are under 42 inches. I would wait until at least one kid is above 42, because otherwise you're going to be doing a lot of rides, a lot of child swap, a lot of rides by yourself. So that's really the threshold where you can go on a lot more rides is 42 inches. And even if you have two kids, I would wait like we did, where one of them was at least 48 inches, so you can get on Forbidden Journey and Hagrid's Motorbike together. So that's the first thing, is like deciding when to go. So I would wait until they're a little older. And like my kids, they didn't really know any of the characters that Universal has compared to how they know all the Disney characters, but that didn't really matter at all. Like that didn't come into play at all. Like they'd never seen the Men in Black movie, but they still love that ride. So like a lot of it, you don't have to see the movies or know the characters to enjoy the parks.
Right.
Then just other general tips, I would avoid going on holiday weekends, like President's Day weekend. So again, like Thursday and Friday wasn't bad, but Saturday and Sunday was really busy. Islands of Adventure, we had early entry at 8, but I would recommend, like, if you're staying at a hotel, leave your hotel at 7. I think the first buses go an hour before early entry starts, so I would try to, as hard as you can, to be on that first bus. We packed a lot of snacks. If you're going with kids, I definitely recommend, like, we brought 2 big suitcases, and I think one of them was halfway filled, at least, with snacks.
Oh my gosh.
You can't bring like sandwiches or like big food items into the park, but you can bring snacks. So just bring lots of snacks, and then save some money. And when the kids start getting hangry, it helps a lot.
There we go. I love it. We do not want hangry children. And I'm gonna just put you on the spot here. Given the choice between taking your kids to Disney or taking your kids to Universal, say you hadn't been very recently, but based on your previous experiences, where are you going to take your next family vacation?
At this point, I would say Universal, I think, because just it's a lot more convenient. They still have the Superstar shuttle that will take you from the airport to the hotel, which costs an extra fee, but it makes it very, very simple. It's a reasonable price. It makes it very easy. It's super easy to get around the Universal Resort with the water taxis and the buses, and they're very efficient. So there's not a lot of like wasted time, and there's more variety for everyone in the family. So for the coaster enthusiasts, you have amazing coasters like VelociCoaster and Hagrid's. And then you still have, rides that the kids will enjoy, and kids areas that they can play in. So there's just like more variety, more to do. It's easier to get around. So yeah, I think at this point where we are, I would choose Universal. I think if you had younger kids, maybe that would still skew more towards Disney. But I think if you go to Universal, I think you can do more in a day at Universal than maybe you can do at Disney now.
Okay.
Granted, I haven't used Genie Plus, but
neither have I. I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. We'll see what happens. Who knows? Next time I go to Disney, they'll probably have another reservation. Maybe FastPass will come back. Who knows? Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this podcast up?
One thing we didn't talk about was the Bourne Stuntacular.
Yes. Okay. That's another thing I haven't done yet. So why was it so good?
This is the thing. It's like nobody talks about this show really. I don't hear really anyone talking about it, and it's amazing. It's like one of the most craziest, like most unbelievable things I've seen. Like it is awesome. So I guess for people who don't know, this is based on the Jason Bourne books and movies, like the Bourne Identity, and it's a stunt show, but the way they use technology and blend screens and sets is just unbelievable. I think it's so the back of the theater is just a giant LED screen or a bunch of smaller LED screens all combined together. I think it's if you watch Star Wars: The Mandalorian, if you've seen how they film that show, instead of using like green screens or blue screens, they use a bunch of LED screens so that they can project like the backgrounds in real time while they're filming it instead of adding them in later. I think it's the technology is sort of similar to that, but so in the show there's a giant screen in the back where they'll have some like a city landscape or something, and then what they do is they have automated sets that are timed up with the background that come across, and it's just impossible to sometimes to determine like what's on the screen and what's actually real in front of you, and then it's all choreographed together, and it's just crazy.
Nice. Another thing I need to add to the list next time I get down to Universal Orlando Resort for sure. But that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Coaster 101 podcast. If you're listening to this show, be sure you're following us on social media. We're at Coaster 101, anywhere you can consume the platform. If you go back in the Twitter, Instagram archives, you can see tweets and posts from Nick's trip. If you head to coaster101.com, you'll be able to see a variety of articles about things at Universal that Nick kind of encountered and puts his own unique spin on. Those should be coming up soon if they're not up already. It's the magic of podcasting. We're recording. I don't know what Nick's doing this week, so he might write articles, he might not. It's great. Be sure to check out our TeePublic shop. It's at c101.co/TeePublic. Very easy. We've got some really cool theme park inspired designs, but also some Coaster 101 designs. If you like this podcast, there's a friend of the podcast shirt. So be sure to check that out as well. Please make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, leaving us reviews on iTunes. We love to read those. And we're still in the midst of our contest. This will be out by the time... Actually, got one more day, because this will release on the 28th. Leave us a review on iTunes. You'll be entered to win a Coaster 101 prize pack filled with some Iron Gwazi swag, but some other stuff from parks all around the country as well. So make sure you're liking, rating, reviewing, subscribing, doing all those verbs. That really helps us out, helps people find the show, things like that. Thanks, as always, to Justin Mabry of JM Music Design for our theme music, and we will talk to y'all again soon. See ya. Right about now, you're probably looking at your phone and you're wondering why that the podcast close is over, but there's still some time left on this week's episode. And that's because we've got some bonus content this week. After Nick and I recorded, Nick's kids came home from school and they told their dad they wanted to be on the podcast. And, through our recording schedule, we couldn't make it happen. But Nick, being the great dad that he is, he conducted a mock interview with his kids like they were on the podcast. And we didn't want that footage to go to waste. So we have included that interview for your listening pleasure after this quick message. But yeah, we get to hear from Nick and Henry and Nora about their recent trip to Universal Orlando, the things they liked, the things they didn't like, some of their favorite rides. It's the pure chaos energy you would expect from a dad, his 4-year-old daughter, and his 8-year-old son. Please enjoy.
Welcome to another edition, a very special edition of the Coaster 101 podcast. I'm your host, Nick Weisenberger, and I am joined by two very special guests today. How about you introduce yourselves? First we have...
Noah, and I'm a unicorn.
And how old are you?
4.
And next we have...
Henry.
And how old are you, Henry?
I am 8.
You're 8?
And right now, I'm drinking a juice box right now.
Okay, let's get into the topic of today's show. Where did we just come back from vacation from?
Florida. And it's typically just called Florida. Yeah, but it's Orlando Resort. We stayed there for 5 days.
And
it was really fun for the roller coaster. Now you can take it on to Dad.
And how did you find out about our trip to Universal Orlando?
Because I saw the suitcase packaging, So I just said...
Well, didn't you get a letter to Hogwarts?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the whole point. I mean, I did
Were you surprised by that?
Yeah. I just thought it was a castle.
Okay, and then, so we flew down on the plane. How was the plane ride?
Hey, I need it. No, I know all the way.
Henry, how was the plane ride?
Well, it was really noisy on the last part, but everywhere else it was spectacular. It's just not the noise that makes the ears pop.
And when we went to Universal Studios and Islands of Adventure theme parks, what was your favorite ride, Henry? What was your favorite ride?
My favorite ride was the ride with all the hang gliders like that.
Oh, the pterodon flyers, or I know I'm saying that wrong, but the roller coaster that hangs below the track was your favorite ride.
Yeah.
Why was that your favorite?
Oh, because you can fly over and it's just so relaxing. I use this voice because I like relaxing.
And Nora, what was your favorite ride?
I have 3 favorite rides.
3? Okay, first one.
I like Alien.
Men in Black Alien Attack. Ooh, why was that your favorite?
Because you got to shoot on the alien and the guy... at the end. I think he burped.
He
did it too.
So, okay, what's your second favorite ride?
My second favorite ride was like the Cat in the Hat.
The Cat in the Hat ride. That's a good one.
I like
and
that
your
one
third
too.
favorite ride?
It's the Cat in the Hat high ride.
Oh, the High in the Sky Seuss trolley train ride. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Fun
too.
fact: I like that one too, everybody.
And what was the ride you didn't like? What was your least favorite ride?
Hagrid's motorbike.
You didn't like Hagrid's. That's not true.
You should never like Hagrid's motorbike.
That's a fun one.
No,
I know.
You
Forbidden
fall down
Journey.
the hole and it feels like you're
Spoiler
dead.
alert. I know you didn't like Forbidden Journey because that one was a little bit intense, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean I would like that one more than Hagrid's motorbike.
Really?
Yeah, it's just too intense when you go
When you drop, when you go backwards.
Yeah, it's too intense. It's like that. Oh, I'm dying! Help me, I'm dead! That's how
And Nora, was there a ride that you didn't like?
Mine not. Smile, say cheese! 3.
Okay.
Okay, my 4th one that I didn't like Hagrid's motorbike.
You didn't even ride that. Why didn't you like it? Because you couldn't ride it?
And then
You just sit in the family room?
No. Because I'll put the wall, because it looks kind of scary for me. Yeah, it's and my second favorite one was the flying actor one.
Oh.
Where it's kind of flying those flying actors.
The flying coaster one, the swinging one. And your third least favorite one?
Was the one you that has a tall hill.
The VelociCoaster?
Yeah.
You didn't like that?
No, because I didn't like the big hill.
You didn't even ride it.
No, I didn't like the big hill.
You don't even like watching it?
No, we'll get out this way.
Okay, what about let's switch to different topic. What about food? Did we eat any good food?
Oh yeah, we ate the green eggs and ham, but the ham's actually pretty good. But I haven't ever tried the eggs.
Okay, what about you, Nora? Did you like any of the food? Like the butterbeer ice cream?
Yes, but I didn't like green eggs and ham. I love green eggs.
Hey, another thing. What about the parade?
Yes. Wait, I'll be right back, everybody.
How many?
Pause the video.
Did you love the parade? Tell us what you liked about the parade. With your words, tell us what you liked about the parade.
Here comes me.
This is a podcast, Henry. People can't see you.
Okay.
Oh, and then Henry's just brought in about 100 beads. We watched the parade 3 times. Whoa! I bet. Can you hear those with the microphone too? That's all the beads we got. Can you tell everybody what your technique was for catching so many beads? How did you get so many beads?
I made a whining face and I said, I can't see any. I dropped one down to my phone. I went pee on it. And that's how I got it. Just put a cute face on it.
Just put a cute face on. That's how you can get so many views from the Mardi Gras.
Like this.
Excellent pick. Okay, and what about the hotel? What hotel did we stay at?
Cabana Bay.
Okay, put those down so we can hear. What hotel? All right, stop looking. No. Oh, this is the part where we've lost control.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you like about Cabana Bay, Nora? The lazy river?
Yes, and when I was sad.
What was sad?
I was sad.
Why?
Because you skipped me on the other part. You skipped me.
On what part?
You skipped on the other part. That made me sad.
Well, this is your time to shine. What do you have to say? Any other thoughts about our trip?
Yes, my trip was sad. We got to go to Unicorn Land. Yeah.
Okay. One last very important question. Are you listening? Henry?
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
Okay. If you could choose between Disney, Dollywood, Legoland, or Universal, which park would you go to? Henry first. Which one? Disney, Dollywood, Legoland, or Universal? Which one would you go to?
Legoland, Florida.
Legoland, Florida. Ooh. Okay, Nora. Which one would you go to?
I will go to all of them in the same city.
All of them? Well, if you can only pick one, which one?
I don't know.
It's too hard?
I would probably go to all of them at one time.
Well, if you can't go to all of them at once, like if you had to go in order, which one would you go to first?
I will go to first Dollywood, Legoland,
And that's gonna do it for this week's episode.
No, it's not. We're gonna come back tomorrow. We're coming back.